She dumped me saying, "We'll always be friends." But weeks later, she was standing at my door in tears, begging me to come back after realizing friendship doesn't pay rent, fix cars, or love her the way I did. 5 years of my life had been built around her. Yet the end arrived on a Tuesday night with a sentence so polished and condescending that it still echoed in my head long after she spoke it. "We'll always be friends, though." Those were the words my then-girlfriend, Amber, chose to conclude 2 years of our relationship. There were no shouts, no tears, no slamming doors. Just that quiet, self-righteous tone people use when they think they're doing you a favor. Amber had been acting distant for weeks, and deep down, I knew something was coming. She liked to call herself an artist, a dreamer lost in colors, canvas, and coffee-fueled creativity. In reality, that meant she worked a few shifts a week at a cafe, talked endlessly about the novel she'd someday write, and looked down on anyone whose hands showed signs of honest work. I was a mechanic. I owned a small business restoring classic cars, bringing rusted frames back to life until they purred like newborn kittens. To Amber and her pretentious art friends, that made me simple. Reliable, sure, but simple. Like a piece of furniture you keep around for convenience but never really appreciate. That evening, she sat me down on the couch in our apartment, the same apartment where my income paid 80% of the bills, and gave me what she clearly considered her masterpiece speech. It was a stream of cliches about finding herself and needing space to nurture her creative soul. Her words were pretty, polished, and utterly empty. But beneath all the poetic nonsense, the message was obvious. I wasn't exciting enough. I wasn't bohemian enough. My hands were too greasy, my world too grounded, my dreams too practical. I didn't argue. When an engine's shot, you don't beg it to start. You accept it's done, either rebuild it or scrap it. And this relationship, it was totaled. I sat there quietly while she laid out the terms of her departure like a business deal. Then, right before leaving, she placed a hand on my knee with that patronizing smile of hers and said, "We'll always be friends though, right?" As if she were granting me some grand favor. In that moment, something inside me shifted. The sadness evaporated, replaced by something sharper, cold, clean clarity. She wasn't ending a relationship. She was downgrading an employee. In her mind, I'd stay the same dependable Jake, ready to fix her car, pay the bills, offer emotional support, just without the burden of commitment. I looked at her calmly, gave a small smile and said, "Absolutely." Her relief was immediate. She thought she'd pulled it off, freedom without consequence. She had no idea she'd just signed herself up for a lesson she'd never forget. "Oh, good," she said, beaming. "I'm so glad you're being mature about this." "Of course," I replied casually as I stood up. "That's what friends are for." Then I let the word hang there, sharp and deliberate. "Speaking of which, you should start looking for a roommate. I'll be moving out this weekend." Her smile cracked like thin glass. "Wait, what? You can't. Where am I supposed to go?" "I'm not sure," I said, heading toward the bedroom to pack. "But I'm sure a resourceful artist like you will figure it out. Friends believe in each other, right?" What followed was a full-blown meltdown. For the next hour, she trailed me from room to room, cycling through anger, confusion, and desperation. "You can't just leave. The lease is in both our names." "You're right," I said calmly, folding my shirts into a bag. "Which is why I'll keep paying my half until the end of the month. That gives you about 3 weeks to find a new roommate. Or we can break the lease, it'll cost $2,000, split evenly. Your choice." The mention of $1,000 penalty made her face pale. Her part-time job barely covered her coffee and paint supplies, let alone rent. "I can't afford that. You have to stay, just until the lease ends. It's the decent thing to do. We're friends, remember?" I turned to her slowly. "And friends don't force each other into toxic environments. I'm giving you the space you said you needed." Right then, our third roommate, Maya, walked in. Quiet, level-headed Maya, a veterinary technician who lived in the smaller bedroom. She took one look at the scene, my open suitcase, Amber's tear-streaked face, and just sighed. Let me guess, she said. Her car again? Worse, Amber sobbed. He's leaving me. Maya's eyes met mine, and I just nodded. We broke up, I explained simply. I'm moving out. Maya gave a calm nod and headed straight to her room without another word. That's when I knew she had seen this drama before. Amber spent the rest of the weekend cycling through manipulation tactics, crying, begging, accusing me of being heartless. She brought up memories, our first date, the times I helped her family. I met every plea with the same steady calm. As your friend, I'd say, I think it's important to focus on the future. It drove her crazy. A week later, she called in a panic. Jake, the power's out. The internet's down. You have to come fix it. Did you check the breaker box? I asked. The what? I don't know anything about that. It's in the utility closet. Just flip the switch that's out of line. I'm not doing that. It's dark and scary. What if I get electrocuted? Jake, please, as my friend. I took a long sip of my beer. Amber, as your friend, I'm concerned for your safety. So I suggest calling emergency maintenance. Their number's on the fridge. But they'll charge for that. She whined. The building manager sat us down to sign. As I scrawled my name, Maya gently placed her hand over mine. Just a small gesture of support. But to Amber, it was like watching her whole world collapse. Her smile froze, then shattered. Her eyes locked on our hands, wide and cold with rage. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just stared, realizing, maybe for the first time, that she'd lost everything she'd taken for granted. After that, her life spiraled fast. Her new roommate lasted 6 weeks before leaving a note that read, I'd rather live in my car than deal with this. Unable to afford rent, Amber was evicted. Last I heard, she'd moved back in with her parents in a tiny town 3 hours away. Her grand artistic journey had led her right back to her childhood bedroom. She tried spinning a sob story about how I'd abandoned her, but no one bought it. Everyone knew she'd been the one to end things. Her drama had finally caught up with her. As for me, life has never been better. Maya and I now live together in a small house with a big yard for Buster and a 2-car garage for my projects. She's working at a downtown law firm, and I've expanded my business. We split the bills, share the work, and celebrate each other's wins. It's real. It's equal. It's peaceful. My revenge was never about anger. It was about boundaries. She wanted friendship. I gave it to her, but on my terms. I let her feel the full weight of what being friends really meant when love, effort, and responsibility were gone. Amber thought she was setting herself free. In reality, she just freed me to build a better life with a better woman, while she was left reaping the consequences of her own choices. And that, my friends, is the most satisfying kind of payback there is. If you enjoyed the story of calm revenge and sweet justice, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that prove sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on.